If you wanted proof that the New Orleans Saints are indeed the real deal, you got it, as they absolutely dressed down the Dallas Cowboys. We got all that and a little bit of lanyard for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as the Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net and Saints analyst with WWL TV. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, the New Orleans Saints are the real deal. Let me wipe this egg off my face right quick. We're going to dive into the Saints' historic start to the 2024 season. We're going to dive into how Derek Carr is at the head and helm of it all. And we're going to lead it off with the simple statement that I said to open today's show. The New Orleans Saints are the real deal. We appreciate you very much, as always, for being here and for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day, and for being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. It's download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The New Orleans Saints are the real deal. We ain't got to ask no more questions. This wasn't the Carolina Panthers, right? This was the Dallas Cowboys. Them boys, the ones that everybody sees, as including myself, as a playoff team. The New Orleans Saints absolutely wiped the floor with the Dallas Cowboys, and did they ever do it in style? An absolutely remarkable win for the New Orleans Saints, 44-19. The New Orleans Saints are the real deal, and they proved it here up against a very, very good Dallas Cowboys team, with taking Dak Prescott the majority of the way out of the game. Outside of one big play on a missed tackle, catch and run touchdown, they took CeeDee Lamb out of the game. Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys' outstanding pass rusher, the best defensive player in the NFL, a no-show in this game. Almost a no-show in this game. Let's kick it off here. 5 straight touchdown drives to open the game, 6 in total. Not scoring drives. Remember, the New Orleans Saints had 9 straight scoring drives up against the Carolina Panthers last week. 6 straight touchdown drives for the New Orleans Saints in this one, adding in also a Blake Grupe field goal as well to keep it going. If you were wondering if Alvin Kamara was back, he's back. In fact, I think he just scored another touchdown. I completely understand why it is that Alvin Kamara put one of his properties up for sale in New Orleans, because I didn't realize that AT&T Stadium was his house now, because that's what we saw with Alvin Kamara, a 4-touchdown game in this one, going up against a Mike Zimmer defense that a few years ago on Christmas Day, he scored 6 of them things against. That's 10 touchdowns in 8 quarters against the Mike Zimmer defense, which was the defense that we all kept saying, oh, the New Orleans Saints, they've got a young offensive line. They've got some injuries on the offensive line. They might struggle a little bit against Mike Zimmer's defense and all of those exotic pressure packages and all those things. Didn't matter. Didn't stop AK, right? And this is just a part of what Alvin Kamara does. He just runs Mike Zimmer out of buildings, apparently. They better extend Alvin Kamara right now, because if they don't, the New Orleans Saints are going to be in for a heck of a payday. Alvin Kamara with 5 touchdowns on the season already, right where he was last season. Absolutely outstanding game from him. So we got to start off there. Absolutely outstanding. And I'll tell you what, too, I'm going to get here to, in a little bit, something historic that the New Orleans Saints have done when it comes to the rushing game. But I got to say, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, who we'll update on here in a little bit, Jamal Williams, this New Orleans Saints run game, innovative, expansive, dominating. Saints averaging over 5 yards per carry again in the run game this week. Absolutely outstanding, and exactly what it is that the New Orleans Saints needed, because again, that run game sets up everything else, and it sets up everything for New Orleans Saints quarterback Derek Carr, who again was absolutely outstanding in this one. He looked unstoppable again in this offense. At one point, he was a perfect 6 of 6 for 199 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Ran for a touchdown, hit him with a little hee at one point. Like, it was just, the vibes are crazy right now. And Club Dub popping off here in AT&T Stadium. The New Orleans Saints having a ton of fun. Let me give you credit. Let me give you credit. The way that New Orleans Saints fans traveled for this game was insane. I think we heard the first Who Dat chant in this game during the second quarter, because the Saints were already up like 28-9 at one point. It was just exactly what you wanted to see from New Orleans. And look, there's no excuse for opponent this time from people that are doubting where New Orleans is and who New Orleans can be. This was the Dallas Cowboys today. This was the Dallas Cowboys, and the New Orleans Saints put up 44 points, a total of 91 total points over the course of the first 2 games. Now, the Saints are not going to be able to keep that level of production up game after game after game after game and all those other things, but this is a great way to start the season. Remember, the Saints started 2-0 last year, too. This feels a lot different, though, doesn't it? This is a very different 2-0 here for these New Orleans Saints. They're looking like the best team in the NFL when they're out here right now. The offense is cooking. The defense is looking good. Even though it faced some adversity today, you'd like to see maybe the pass rush get home a little bit more, but I'm nitpicking at that point. Special teams was on point. The Saints did what they needed to do yet again to establish not just a victory, y'all, but I'm talking about dominance in this game. The 70-yard one-play touchdown strike from Derek Carr to Rashid Shaheed was one of the most incredible throws and catches that I've ever seen in person. Now, we've seen Drew Brees and Marcus Colston and all these other guys do incredible things. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying it's the best thing that I've ever seen, but in person, that was one of the best throws and catches I've ever seen in a football game. This is what the New Orleans Saints are doing. And remember, this is coming from me, the dude that wasn't sure if the New Orleans Saints offense was going to get off to a start. The dude that said that the New Orleans Saints might finish 3rd in the division. Shut up, Ross, you dumb idiot, because look at what this team has done. And listen, I knew the New Orleans Saints offense was going to look better than it did last year, but I did not expect it to look like this at all. We spoke with Tyrann Mathieu and Paulson Adebo after the game, and Paulson Adebo was one of the ones that was talking about like the confidence that this New Orleans Saints team is feeling and how we on the outside are getting more confident in this team as we see them on the field. This New Orleans Saints team, though, is living in its confidence. Its status quo is its confidence, and that's reflecting out on this field. The New Orleans Saints did a fantastic job in this game. And how many times have we talked about in the past, let's say 3 years, that the New Orleans Saints came out and got punched in the mouth, got punched in the throat? You know what they did? They came out here and they punched the Dallas Cowboys in the throat, completely flipped the script on things that we've been seeing for the New Orleans Saints. I do believe that they proved themselves, and I will go this far, right? I'm scrapping my dumb, stupid prediction for where this team would finish in its division this year. This team looks like a playoff team. And as long as they stay healthy, which is the case for any team in the NFL, as long as they stay healthy and they can keep producing like this is a playoff team, y'all. This is absolutely a playoff team. They have been so much fun to watch. They have been outstanding. And this is exactly what you wanted to see from them. Coming off of that Carolina Panthers game, everybody wanted to see them prove themselves against a quote-unquote better opponent. Well, the Dallas Cowboys looked like the Carolina Panthers out here today, and that was because of what the New Orleans Saints did. So to heck, HE double hockey sticks with my 3rd place prediction. The New Orleans Saints, if they keep this up, they're into the playoffs. They're outstanding. And now look, they have another tough game coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not ready to go there yet, but if they can prove it again, huge for this New Orleans Saints team. All right, coming up next, I want to dive into Derek Carr's performance, because Derek Carr was near perfect yet again, and he deserves a lot of credit for what the New Orleans Saints are looking like right now. We got that coming up for you next as we continue on with this live live reaction episode, of the Locked On Saints podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks, the easiest and most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Here's my tip for you, because here's how Prize Picks works, right? They give you, based on games that are being played over the weekend, they take a player, they give you a projection of a stat, right? They give you a number. You choose whether or not they're going to come in at more or less than that stat once they get out on the field. And my advice right now is that while the New Orleans Saints are looking like this, more on Derek Carr touchdowns, more on Alvin Kamara touchdowns, more on Alvin Kamara rushing yards. Just take it all. The one thing that I might say is maybe don't take more on Derek Carr's passing yards because he's not being asked to be a hero out here. This New Orleans Saints offense is cooking all on its own. But I'm going to tell you why Derek Carr is very, very important here in a moment. So that's all you got to do. You get 4 of those projections right, and then boom, you can win up to 100 times your entry back. It doesn't get any more fun than Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks today. Download the app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL over on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get that $50 bonus. It's all guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash, my absolute favorite on-demand delivery service. Not just meals, y'all, groceries, everything that you need. You can find it over on DoorDash. I use DoorDash all the time. Like you, I'm incredibly busy, especially during the season. DoorDash helps me. You better believe that when I get back to my hotel tonight, the first thing I'm doing is bringing up my DoorDash app, and I'm getting that delivery for my dinner because I ain't cooking in no hotel room, and I definitely ain't eating at the hotel restaurant, if you know what I'm saying. So go and check them out today. DoorDash, my absolute favorite. Use the promo code LOCKEDFALL24. That's LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. It's a limited time offer. Terms do apply. Promo is not valid for orders that contain alcohol. DoorDash, your door to DoorDash greatness, your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to order your game day favorites. Must be 21 or older to download. To purchase alcohol, drink responsibly. Alcohol available only in select markets. What? I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm so excited about how great this game just went. What's my usual intro here? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. That's how exciting this game was. We appreciate you very much for being here for another episode of Locked On Saints. The thing that I want to highlight next is Derek Carr. Derek Carr is playing out of his mind. He is absolutely in his bag, and he is feeling himself, not just literally, but also metaphorically. Derek Carr looked fantastic in this game. That's where I want to start. Don't forget, we are here with you every Monday through Friday on Locked On Saints. 30 minutes, all Saints, no fluff, nothing else. Just come here to get what it is that you're looking for, and that's New Orleans Saints football talk. So, Derek Carr, absolutely outstanding today. Let me grab the updated numbers because he was off to a hot start, 6 of 6 for 199 yards at one point, 2 passing touchdowns, all that. He finished the game today. 11 of 16 passes thrown by your starting quarterback, and the New Orleans Saints put up 44 points on 16 passing attempts by Derek Carr. You understand the efficiency that comes with that, right? So 11 of 16, 243 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, had 1 interception. Again, I don't really hold that one against him. It wasn't a bad decision. It was a little bit outside the frame. I think maybe Chris Olave thought he was supposed to sit in the middle of the field because it was open. Derek Carr led him, trying to get him some yards after catch. I appreciate that. Ends up going off of Chris Olave's hand, tip drill. Dallas gets the interception. I'm not holding that against nobody. It was the right choice, right decision, just a little bit of miscommunication maybe that led to that. 125 passer rating in this game. Derek Carr has been absolutely on one. Near perfect again for the second week in a row. Absolutely flawless first half. And oh, by the way, he also added a rushing touchdown. That's when he hit him with the he, like I was mentioning earlier, hit him with that Mike Jack, hit him with that MJ, right? All of that. This is what we've been seeing from this team for these past 2 games, and the excitement that comes from it, the production that comes from it, has all been funneling through Derek Carr and the run game, right? Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara, but Derek Carr has been absolutely awesome. Great decision making all throughout the day as well. There was one play actually to where he had the choice to maybe try to force one in. And what does he do instead? He scrambles, extends the ball. Technically, it was a 1-yard loss on that play, but that's really it. That's it. Like, and what I mean by that is that was good decision making. You'll take the 1-yard loss on that situation than trying to force something and then it potentially get tip up and intercepted or whatever. And remember, the Saints were in the red zone on that play, so you want to protect those possessions and be able to come away with some points on those situations. And the Saints did a very good job of that when it came to what they were doing in the red zone in this one. The Saints were 4 of 5 in the red zone on touchdowns scored, 5 of 5 when it comes to scoring in the red zone. That comes off of another fantastic day in the red zone against Carolina last week. And again, all of this kind of funneling through Derek Carr, who looks like he is just so comfortable in this offense. He and new offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak are cooking right now. And it's everything that you needed. How are the New Orleans Saints doing it? What is Klint Kubiak doing that's like making it all work for Derek Carr? Well, he's utilizing the things that elevate what Derek Carr does best. Play action. We know Derek Carr has always been a solid play action quarterback. He's running a lot of play action in this offense. The motions that they're using over and over again all throughout this season so far, that's helping Derek Carr diagnose the defense across. Derek Carr has always been a solid pre-snap quarterback and a good decision maker. And here's the thing that I absolutely love about what we've seen from Derek Carr. Sometimes he plays a little bit too safely. I have not seen a lick of that in these opening 2 games where the New Orleans Saints have combined for 91 points, all from their offense and special teams. We haven't even seen a defensive or special teams touchdown just yet. We've seen the field goals from Blake Grupe, who missed his first career extra point today on a blocked extra point, but you'll take that. He was still good on his 1 field goal attempt from 26 yards out, adding to that scoring total is excellent. And here's the other thing that the Saints are doing really well that's allowing them to be able to maximize what Derek Carr does well. They're protecting him. Remember, the big thing that we were concerned about coming into this game was the New Orleans Saints offensive line. They're young. There's 3 players in new starting positions, right? Trevor Penning is not a first-time starter, but he's starting at right tackle for the first time, right? Only his second game in this position in the regular season. Taliese Fuanga, the Saints' first-round pick, who starts at left tackle, was a game-time decision in this game. The rookie did not practice in 2 of the 4 practices for this week if you go back to Monday. He didn't practice in the last 2 practices this past week, and he looked outstanding all game. A true game-time decision. And we haven't even talked about the New Orleans Saints defense yet, that got a couple of takeaways, a couple of turnovers on downs, got 3 sacks on Dak Prescott as well. Brian Brzee getting a strip sack in this one on the 2-year anniversary, I believe it is, of his younger sister Ella's passing. What an emotional day, and what a big day for him to be able to come out here and have the kind of game that he did in what should be a breakout season for the second-year first-round pick. This is, and on top of all that, the Saints didn't even have Marshon Lattimore. So you're getting everything that you need for Derek Carr, even without your top defensive player, your top starting cornerback in this game. You're running the play action where he's very good. You're utilizing the motion where he's able to dissect and do all of the pre-snap adjustments. You have a run game that's supporting him, a defense that's giving him short fields, an offensive line that was absolutely outstanding today. Despite the fact that they were going against Micah Parsons, despite the fact that they were going against DeMarcus Lawrence, Marshawn Nealon, really, really good guys. Remember, those 3 players combined for the Dallas Cowboys last week for the same amount of pressures the entire New Orleans Saints defense got against Carolina in week 1. And the Saints kept Derek Carr clean. The only play I can really think of where Micah Parsons was a little bit more of a factor, and this is really thanks to my good friend John Hendricks over at Second and Saints, was Derek Carr's first incompletion when he just dirted a screen pass. That's it. Derek Carr is absolutely on one, and he's feeling himself. And it's a great thing to see. He's out here dancing. He's out here cutting up. He's out here talking trash, right? Remember, that's the same dude that looked at J.C. Horn last week and said, I got 3 touchdowns on you. Like, this is just different. This is so different from what we saw last year and the year before. This is entirely different. And it's one of the reasons why I am so excited about where this team is and the way that they have proved me wrong. Because it's not just that the offense looks good, it's that the offense looks good, the offensive line is producing well, the run game is popping, the New Orleans Saints offense is producing and scoring points right off the bat, the defense is holding up, special teams is looking good, and you know what? They're having a blast out on the field. And that brings you back to 2018 days, right? Like, this might not be the 2018 team, but it sure feels like it in terms of the vibe. So I'm all about where the New Orleans Saints are right now. And coming up next, I want to dive into the New Orleans Saints' historic start from so many different levels. Let's break it all down here as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at Game Time, and what a game time it was for the New Orleans Saints. Game Time is absolutely awesome. It's a place that I always go to buy my tickets for special events, not just sports like football, basketball, baseball, all that, but you can also grab concerts, musicals, comedy, so much more. Events out the wazoo, a ton that you can find over at Game Time. A couple things that I love about Game Time: transparency. You can toggle on all-in pricing. That way there's no fees that scare you. By the time you get to checkout, one of the only ticket apps, or maybe the only ticket app that does that. You can see the view from your seats before you buy the tickets. Again, more transparency. And now they have Game Time Picks, which is a curation option that makes it easier for you to find and save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. It's awesome. So go and check them out today. You can take all the guesswork out of buying tickets by using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. I'm not forgetting that one. We appreciate you very much for being here. The New Orleans Saints are off to a historic start, especially over on the offensive side of the football, but the defense deserves some shine as well. We're going to dive into all that, and I'm also going to give you a couple of injury updates for New Orleans as well. We appreciate you very much making us your first listen. For your second listen, I know Tyler Rowland's going to be talking all about these New Orleans Saints over at Locked On NFL tomorrow morning, so make sure you go and check it out, because everyone is shocked by what the New Orleans Saints have done to open up their season. Go and check out the new and improved Locked On NFL today as your second listen. All right, so the Saints are off to a historic start. Let me give you some numbers here. This is the first time since 2009 that the New Orleans Saints have opened with 40 or more points scored in their first two games. They are the 8th team. Big shout out to Luke Johnson over at NOLA.com for that one. 8th team in NFL history to do it since the merger. And the last time that the New Orleans Saints have started off a season with back-to-back 40-point games was the 2009 year, where they combined. Want to give a shout out to my guy Nathaniel Lyons for this one. Combined for 93 points, best in NFL history. The Saints 91 points, second highest total in NFL history, just 2 points behind that 2009 New Orleans Saints offense. So off to a historic start when it comes to this. And here's the thing for me: the Saints' scoring opportunities have been plentiful, not because they've lucked into some stuff with dumb luck, but because they played themselves into the right positions. Some of these drives that the New Orleans Saints have put together really kind of goes to show you just how much the Saints have been able to do this. So the Saints open the season with a 5-play, 76-yard touchdown drive. Open this game with a 7-play, 80-yard touchdown drive. They followed it up with a 1-play, 70-yard strike. Later on, a 13-play, a nice little 69-yard drive that ended in a touchdown. That was the Derek Carr sneak. That drive chewed 7 minutes and 50 seconds off of the clock. There were nearly only two second quarter, or rather third quarter possessions, because of how much time both Dallas and New Orleans took off the clock. Dallas goes for 5 minutes and 55 seconds. New Orleans goes for 7 minutes and 56 seconds, just running that thing over and over and over again. Alvin Kamara with 115 rushing yards. Absolutely outstanding for him. 51st game now in his career, over 100 total yards from scrimmage. Outstanding. Outstanding. So what I mean by the Saints putting together something sustainable here is that they've shown you that they can score in a variety of different ways. They can score on the short field. They can score on a long, sustained drive. They can score on the one play quick strike downfield to Rashid Shaheed, and it remains sustainable. Here's why. The New Orleans Saints have now opened both of these games with blowouts in the first quarter. So in the second quarter, they haven't had to show much more of Klint Kubiak's offense. They typically, throughout the second half today, copied and pasted what they did in the first half, but with some minor tweaks and minor personnel adjustments. Now, they showed some extra stuff, right? The Rashid Shaheed run, all those other things, a couple of like really nifty, motions and stuff like that, eye candy stuff. But Klint Kubiak, New Orleans Saints offensive coordinator, did not have to empty the bag for this at all. He was just in his bag all throughout this game. So New Orleans, 91 points in this to open the first two games of the season. Shout out to Harrison Williams over on Twitter. Third straight 40-plus point game for the New Orleans Saints. If you go back to last season and include that Atlanta Falcons game that ended that was at the end of the season, week 18. Really outstanding stuff when it comes to all that. Then, now you've got a big matchup coming this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles, where you're probably going to have to score points again. So you feel really good about the New Orleans Saints' ability to score points. Doesn't mean that they'll score 40 again against Philly. It'd be really fun if they did, though. But doesn't mean that you have to do that. Just you now know the New Orleans Saints have scoring potential in a way that they have not had for the past few seasons. 370 combined rushing yards in the first two games of the season for New Orleans. That's the third highest mark in their franchise history in their two opening games of a season. You got to go back to the 80s and 70s to 70s and 80s, to find those other games. When you have a run game that can come out here and put up 370 rushing yards in your first two games, that just makes your offense hum like crazy. That holds the pass rush back, that freezes the linebackers at the second level, that makes the play action so effective. The Saints and Klint Kubiak, with their third and mid-range run plays that have worked so incredibly well over the course of the season, it's just all falling into place for New Orleans in the run game, which is the foundation for what makes this offense successful, right? It's the thing that sets everything else up. The run game, the defense, as well as, of course, the protection up front with this offensive line, which again was stellar today. Let me give a little bit of love to the defense right quick, and then I'll give you some injury updates. When it comes to this New Orleans Saints defense, 10 points last week, 19 points this week. The New Orleans Saints defense is still really, really good. Okay, it's really, really good. Keeps points off the board, giving the offense short fields and taking the ball away. We spoke to Tyrann Mathieu after the game. I also asked him about the physicality that the secondary in particular has shown. He at one point put a big lick on a receiver on one of the sidelines. Will Harris getting a lick on a receiver in the red zone. The Saints forcing Dallas to come up with a goose egg when it comes to touchdowns, despite the fact that they had 3 red zone possessions, and not just like 3 kind of red zone possessions for the 19-yard line. We're talking about deep red zone possessions. They also forced 2 turnovers on downs and came up with a pair of interceptions as well. One from Paulson Adebo, one from Tyrann Mathieu. I highlight that because when it comes to Paulson Adebo, remember, he started this game off with 2 defensive holding penalties, one of which came when they were extending a drive down to third down, finally getting Dallas down to third down, because remember, Dallas was scoring on a lot of their opening drives as well. Then he comes up with an interception. So the first non-scoring drive for Dallas, Paulson Adebo interception, returns the ball for 40-plus yards to put Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints offense in great starting field position. Again, short fields. Erased all of the penalties early, the missed tackle between he and Tyrann Mathieu on CeeDee Lamb that turned into Dallas's only touchdown of the game. That is the ability to have a short memory. And Paulson Adebo is one of the best I've ever seen at it. And I love the cornerback position. I watched the cornerback position like crazy because I wasn't good enough to play cornerback. I wasn't good enough for that one. And so, but watching that position is like one of my favorite things to watch in football. And Paulson Adebo is an absolute technician when it comes to saying, I ain't worried about that play. And not only does he forget the penalties. Not only does he forget the missed tackle on CeeDee Lamb, he forgets the interception, and it comes out later on and it makes another big play on a pass breakup downfield. Tyrann Mathieu, a part of that missed tackle for CeeDee Lamb, ends up being in the perfect position to come up with a big interception a little bit later on as well, right after the interception that happened on the tip drill by Dallas. So he immediately got the ball back to his quarterback, and they made good on it. So all of that coming together for the New Orleans Saints on the defensive side to make them look like what has been an unstoppable force so far, right? Look like an unstoppable force so far. Again, this won't always be the case for this New Orleans Saints team. 40-point scores, big blowout victories, stuff like that. But we saw them manage a little bit of adversity today and come out on top of that. That's key to me. That's another piece of the sustainability that you want to see. All right, couple of injuries that we saw today. Cedric Wilson leaving the game, going to the injury tent, went back to the locker room. We did not get an update on him in terms of like PA updates and stuff like that, but he was back on the field in the second half. Good news there. Tyrann Mathieu was dealing with a calf cramp. He was back out there, finished the game. He's good too. I would expect that you're going to see both of them on the injury report with the with the NFL's new injury report rules, where if somebody suffers an injury in a game, it has to be reported in the injury report during practices. So I expect you'll see both of them there enlisted, but it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. The big injury to watch here is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, chest injury, was doubtful to return. Dennis Allen updating that he was taken to the hospital after the game for further imaging. So a little bit more precautionary, according to Dennis Allen, but that imaging is going to prove to be very, very informative by the time it's all done. So hope the best for Taysom Hill just from a personal standpoint. But of course, obviously that has a major impact on New Orleans if he's out for any extended amount of time, because when you lose Taysom Hill, you're losing on all four cores of your special teams. You're losing a Wildcat quarterback. You're losing a running back, a fullback, a wide receiver, and a tight end. It's a big deal if the Saints have to go without Taysom Hill, especially with how involved he's been in this offense. Thank goodness, thanks to Klint Kubiak. So just something to watch here for that one. And we'll keep you updated here throughout the week as we've learned more. But ideally, as always, hoping the best when it comes to Taysom Hill for his own personal safety, his own personal well-being, and also for, the New Orleans Saints that rely on all of the incredible things that he can do on a football field. The words that you don't want to hear on this one is pec injury. That's the thing that you want to stay away from on this. So we'll see how everything goes with him, but fingers crossed that everything's good when it comes to that. Wow. Just wow. I mean, what a game. Like, incredible. This New Orleans Saints offense out of nowhere. They've been outstanding. So I hope that you're enjoying it. We said it last week. Leslie Le Bon Temps Roulette again, because, man, that was absolutely outstanding. All right, y'all. We have a fresh episode for you tomorrow morning after I get to do a little bit of a deep dive into all the numbers. So we'll get that over to you. And then, of course, we'll be here with you every single day here on Locked On Saints. We appreciate you very much, as always, making us your first listen. Don't forget to go and check out Locked On Pelicans, check out Locked On LSU, and, of course, our good friends over at Locked On NFL, who are going to be loving up on the Saints all throughout the week here with the Kubiak effect. Good one, Clint. I like that. We appreciate you very much, as always, making Locked On Saints a part of your day, a part of your routine, for saying yes to me and the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you living. Let me know how you momming them. I trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.